Hello, I'm Joel Blackwood with Bethesda Sabbath Fellowship. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence as we move into the end times. Our building is locked, and we've been working with some other people to try to kind of be in their building, but they've been closed for the last 3 weeks. So go figure. It's kind of a bizarre time, people. We try not to be disparate. We're Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship, and please be patient with us. Call first, of course. Are we in the Great Tribulation or in tribulations? What are the metrics? And so I've been holding off on this. As you know, as you could probably tell with my voice, it's not sharp. I have been recovering from something. I won't describe what it is, but a bunch of people from the congregation that I've been attending had the CV. So I'm recovering, and some other people have died from this recently. So it's been an interesting time in the evangelical world. It's also been interesting because one of my friends, John Haller, has been personally attacked along with Jacob Prash. And so this guy, the Servus Christi guy, is a really bad human being. He brought a lady over from South Africa, said, I'll marry you. He had a relation with her, and then he didn't feel like marrying her and sent her back. Just a horrible guy. His name is Joshua Chavez. So I just wanted to come out and say I think John Haller is a wonderful person. He's doing the research that I just can't do, and really giving you a great format for understanding the end times. He doesn't do the deep dives because he doesn't want to be making judgment calls that he doesn't know yet. And so I'm willing to take the risk and say, I believe we are in the third seal, heading for the fourth seal. And I'm going to give you some really cool proof for that today. So we'll see. You'll be able to test out my words. The main thing is the Servus Christi guy, Joshua Chavez, is a bad apple. And John Haller is a good apple. And I think he's doing a wonderful job. And I hope God will bless him in this ministry. So one thing that John Haller and Scotty Harwell have talked to me about, they're both attorneys, and when you believe that you're going into the end times, you have to have a contract offered, and you have to have a contract received or accepted. And so we don't have that yet. So if you really kind of look at Revelation 13, 16 through 17, that is the contract offered. The contract received is Revelation 14, 9 through 11. So if you take the mark of the beast, you will it's pretty horrible, guys. If you worship the beast, receive the mark, you'll drink the wine of God's fury, poured undiluted. So they're they don't see that right now in what's going on in the world. So I'm arguing consistently that we are not in the Great Tribulation, and that that this contract has not been offered yet, and so it's not been received yet. So we're still safe. There are issues going on in the world today, and we're going to talk about that. But it's not a situation where the contract has been offered yet of the 666 or whatever the mark of the beast happens to be. It's not Sunday, that's for sure. So basically Torah is contract law. So Leviticus 26 talks about if you will do the good things like keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary, I will bless you. But on the other hand, if you don't, I will also remember my covenant of Abraham on the good stuff, but also there's some stuff in Leviticus 26 that talk about the things that will be just horrible, and I'll give you kind of an outline of that later on. The main thing is covenant offered, covenant received, and so the covenant was offered to Abraham, and it looks like God will remember the land and his covenant in the end of days. So just keep in mind, this is basic contract law, and that's how the Bible works. God keeps his covenants. We don't do so well, but he keeps them. So people like Mike Heiser are getting questions, and he's a brilliant man. He's not an eschatologist, and he really kind of dances around all of this. But he came out and said, my eschatology is it was cryptic the first time, and that's the way it's going to work the second time. Great answer. The problem is, every time something happens, and there's going to be some things happening here during the winter and spring, and everybody screams, we're going to get rapture ready and we're going to be raptured out, and we're so excited because this fulfills Bible prophecy. Well, how? They don't know, don't care. It's just always silliness, people. And so we need to settle back and wait and watch for things to occur. And really, that means that you have to read your Bible more and pray more. So we do the philosophy of eschatology. what you need to know, why you shouldn't get all hyped up over every bit of news. And the other thing is, I can't do John Haller's job. He's literally detailing every bit of news that's going on. Well, that's like 4 hours a week of presentations, and he's probably going to do that this week. I want to just do the metrics right now. That's what we're doing today. And I try to give you real news and not fake prophecy and really reconcile things. So I do discuss this with my eschatology friends, and they say, some of them say you need to shut up the book and just wait it all out. And basically, some of their thoughts would be imminence, which means nothing needs to occur until the rapture. Or on the other hand, the seals and the bowls and the trumpets all open up during the Great Tribulation. So just don't worry about it right now. I'm telling you that we're in the seals, we're in the four horsemen, and we're getting more signs of it right now, and there's going to be a lot more happening. So according to Revelation 22:10, do not seal up the words of the book. So really, the metrics are not sealed. We should be discussing them. I want you to be edified by knowing rather than guessing. So this is my first source. And this is Michael Yaden. He was an ex-Pfizer scientist. He's established these laws of chaos and martial law, and what they're using for a system to be able to open up the gates of hell against us. Now, that's going to be a typical phrase that's going to come up over the next few years. The gates of hell seems to be opening, and there's going to be more demonic stuff, and I'll show you one of those cases from Houston where this rapper was singing, and people were literally dying, and he didn't stop singing. So Yaden has his process for what we're going down, and it's kind of a Nazi type of a process war. Also, Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. It's a psychological battle, and right now the globalists are winning. So the main thing is, I'm going to be citing down on the bottom here that the wealthy will be jabbed, but the poor are going to be starved out. We're going to show you the process of how that's going to work. But first, with him, he's saying phase one. Let's go with phase one. So phase one is, there you go, stimulating a threat and creating fear. Okay, and he's saying that's already occurred from December 2019 to 2020. And so the New World Order was working hard to stimulate the threat and create fear, and they did a great job. Phase two is sowing tares and division. They really want to divide us into two different camps, and they want to come up with some kind of a treacherous and deadly solution. The deadly solution is free while promising protection and return to normal, and then that's phase three. And then phase four is the apartheid of the vaccinated, the jabbed and the unjabbed. And so he's saying there's an apartheid developing, and it's done on purpose. So they divide us, then they sow these seeds, so to speak, and then they set up privileges that are earned or withdrawn. And then people that are not jabbed won't be able to get their essential services, and they're basically opening and closing the maze to allow us to think that we're suddenly into a new section that's safe and free. No, they're just moving us along through the maze like rats, and so it's all setting up for a digital identity at some point in time to figure out who is the good person that takes the jab and who's the bad person that is anti-jab. So then it moves into chaos and martial law. That's number 5. And so this is all from Michael Yaden, so you can do the research yourself and find him. And he's on, Twitter and other places like that, so you can look this up. But the main thing is, now it gets really bad at phase 5. Shortages of goods and food, and we're going to see that. That is actually happening. Paralysis of the economy, we're seeing that. Okay, we have ships paralyzed and trucks paralyzed. Unemployment explodes. More doses. Murdering certain types of people that are inconvenient and are unnecessary. Just so many myths, so many lies that are going to be sent out to us. You can read it for yourself any way you want to. Then 6, cancel the debts and dematerialize the money. That's going to happen. They're going to trigger the financial stock market collapse. We don't know when it's going to happen. I'm going to give you a woman that thinks she knows when things are going to kick off, but they'll dematerialize money. They'll push the Great Reset. They'll cancel debts and loans on the people that they like, and they'll seize properties and lands, and they'll ban certain types of medicines. It's food rationing, things like that. Yaden seems to be right on all of this. He's really laid it out well. So this is from Mike Adams. I can't cite much about him because um, he's banned in all formats. So basically, he's saying no fertilizer, no food. And so the globalists have been getting together over the last month and determined that they don't want oil production anymore. So as a result, you will have no fertilizer production and you will have no food as a result of that. So it'll shut down the fossil fuels, and then that'll be giving you starvation hell. So once again, the wealthy will be jabbed and the poor will be starved out. And there's not much you can do about that. They want 2 billion deaths. They want basically the fourth horseman to ride forth. And so the shutdown of the fossil fuels in the name of green energy will lead to global famine and societal collapse, and it will. And so no fertilizer equals no food, and that is happening right now. So these horrific people that flew to Europe, to Scotland, I think it was, to sit there in a conference and talk about how, oh, it's horrible that the global environment is falling apart, but they flew in private jets. These people are pigs. They're human waste, and we shouldn't be listening to them. We shouldn't never take advice from somebody more screwed up than you are. So you can't turn solar energy into fertilizer. You can't turn wind power into fertilizer. You need the fossil fuels for fertilizers. You need it. And it gives you the formulas right here. So this is crazy talk when they think that they can collapse down cheap oil or affordable oil and still have affordable food. You're going to start to starve out the poor nations of the world and many people in general. And so they're collapsing so many different things. And we're not seeing it in America. You're seeing it in other countries right now. So you are the carbon they want to reduce. They don't want people. They think we're useless. And so this gives you an example in the middle here of how Canada ships coal to China. China burns the coal to generate power, uses that power to manufacture solar panels, sends the solar panels to Canada on ships burning oil. In Canada, we install those solar panels and call it emissions-free electricity, creating creative accounting, yeah. And flying on a private jet to a global green conference is so hypocritical. It's so sickening and repulsive, but that's what they do all the time. And they blame us for the carbon or cow farts. But this is all crazy talk. So the other thing that they're pushing, the globalists are, is AI transhumanism. They're selling death. It's like opium dens. So when I talk about Mark Zuckerberg now, I call him metastasize because he really wants to metastasize your brain with AI, and he's preaching that. So there's the Facebook is AI systems and new glasses. It's an opium palace. Okay, that's what it is. And so the globalists are getting together in Spain in October 15th-ish, 2021 rather, and they want to get to the point where you can upload your consciousness. So keep in mind, I study the Bible, and according to how I read the Bible, you can't hack the neshama, which is that God consciousness, which is that our connection to God. You can't hack that. And also when you go into the DNA and you try to map it out, there's no God consciousness in our DNA. It's basically blue eyes or green eyes or other basic things like that, or skin colors. It's real simple stuff in the DNA. So where is this life part? Well, it seems to be cellular. Every single cell seems to have this quest for God, to reach out and love God. And so they have to deny that. So this is what they're trying to do with us, is keep us busy, keep us kind of hooked on an opium type of a thing like gaming and other stuff like that. And that's what Meta is going to be all about. But they're not going to be able to hack our consciousness, but they will be able to upload thoughts and download thoughts and confuse us, basically. Okay, so now so Yaden was number 2, Mike Adams was number 2, so Yaden was 1, Mike Adams too. And this is number 3. So she is a lady named Steph from Australia, and she's basically mirroring what I researched. Now, she's not saying it exactly the same way because she's not a biblical scholar, but she has had a message from God. I believe it's true. Please know that I am very aware that we are in the end times. We have been since Jesus walked the earth. The words from the Lord in this video, however, are not about the tribulation period. It's not that time. This is not the end. She's saying that we're in the 3rd and the 4th seals. They are occurring, and they mirror Revelation 6, of course, and Judges 6, which is really interesting that she brought up. And war will break out among the nations. There will be fires. There will be God's fire. There will be mighty uprisings, and food shortages are at hand. So this is a great video. So it's under Provision Ministries, and just look it up, watch it. It's a 30-minute video. It's a great video. It's very similar to what I do. So she's saying everything kicks off on November 15th. We'll see. I was a Dana Coverstone fan until everything didn't happen with him, but she seems to be a reasonable person, and so I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. And also, she's the only one talking seals properly, if I'm correct. So what time is it? We are in November 2021, and Kislev 10 is the date that she's picking to start things off. Now, you're going to say, well, it doesn't say that on the calendar, Joel. It says 11 Kislev. Well, we're technically a day off. The new moon occurred on Sabbath evening, not on Friday evening. So we're technically a day forward of that. So keep in mind that she's predicting Kislev 10. Now, that is exactly 60 days or 2 months exactly past Tishri 10, which would be Yom Kippur. So that is an interesting day to start. I'm willing to look at it. I don't understand why God would choose that day to kick things off. But you know what? If this lady is wrong, then nothing happens after Kislev 10, okay? Which would be, the 15th of November. What I'm saying should occur at some point in time is what we just read in the Bible for this parsha, which was told out, which is the fight between Jacob and Esau, and how there will be an end times fight. Edom, Rome, whatever it happens to be, is going to fight against Jacob. And it's an ancient fight. Remember Amalek from the Bible? He is Edom from the Bible. So keep in mind, this is what's going to happen. And you'll have that fight. It's going to be huge. And it's a fight basically between the people that God has chosen and the people that Satan has chosen. And you're going to see more demonic activity as a result too. So that's what time it is. It's time for the demons to dance. So metrics. What are my metrics? Well, one metric is that the Pope and Rome has opened up the gates of hell. So they've opened this up. This is Dante's Inferno. And they're trying to show you the gates of hell and what hell is all about. So they're trying to open up the kingdom of darkness, and that's what time it is, when you have the gates of hell opening up. And people are doing this across the world with cursed gates and trying to open up hell and encourage people to look at that aspect. Very evil. And then once again, I wanted to get back to the Silicon Valley is spending money on opening up the gates of hell, which is AI and studying consciousness, uploading your brain data. And so what the gates of hell are also cracking the mind and not allowing freedom of thought. So the gates of hell are opening in many different ways, and they're trying to violate us. So transhumanism is the most important thing for the Silicon Valley right now. They want to move fast. They want to break things and make as much money as possible off AI consciousness and uploading brain data and all this weird stuff that we really don't need. And according to Francis Fukuyama, this is the greatest threats to the idea of human equality, because transhumanists are just about the last group you'd like to see live forever or determine who lives forever. So what else is going on? October 23rd, there was a global leaders conference, which was the second day of Jeroboam's false festival, found in 1 Kings 12. It's the wicked Sukkot, And so it was during that time frame of October that people got together for an AI investment AI type conference. It was just weird how it was in Rome, and they had conferences at the Vatican. And yeah, I mean, these guys are teaching transhumanism, and the Pope is actively involved in it. So once again, more about it. These authors on the transhuman code. Humans have to be and been able to adapt, morph, and compromise, but we must move forward into AI. Well, we don't. We really don't want that to occur. So it's very interesting. We need to remain imagers of God. That's the most critical thing as we move forward. We can't coexist with AI. We have to remain in the image of God. So, as always, I say we're in the birth pangs. There is the tribulation. There's the great tribulation. We're in the third seal, moving on to the fourth seal. I'm giving you some evidence of that. That Lady Steph gave you some evidence, and Mike Adams, and Dr. Yaden. And so that's what I'm arguing. Now I'm going to show you some of the other opinions. And, so what are the metrics when you know that we're in? Well, according to my system, you would know when you hit the seventh seal. Then you'd be going in. And that seems to be linear and makes sense. These guys are different. They're nice people, the Prophecy Newswatch people, but here's three simple metrics to gauge if we are in the end times. Three convergence of events. So the metrics for them are that it hasn't really occurred before. So they said one way to know is Israel. Well, that's not much information, guys. Thank you, but no thank you. That doesn't really help me at all to know that Israel is a nation, because I would say that until you have the offerings, you really don't have Jerusalem. And so, would you choose 1897, the time that we had the first Zionist Congress, 1917, during Hanukkah, when Allenby walked in to Jerusalem? Would you choose 1947 during the subcommittee when Israel was determined to become a nation, or 1948, or 1967 when Jerusalem was captured, or 2017 for that matter, when Jerusalem was considered to be the capital of Israel? So I'm telling you that without the offerings, it still isn't Israel. It's the land, but it's not the Temple Mount. That's the holy place, and you're going to see more focus on that. So this is virtually worthless. Okay, globalism. Wow. Hey, thank you. World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, the United Nations 2030 Agenda. I mean, come on. Yeah, we know that, but this isn't really a sign. This isn't a metric, people. And so the Prophecy Newswatch is trying to tell you this is their metric that's going to be able to prove whether we're in the end times or not. Well, that's not really it. The Ezekiel 38 war, they're wrong. They're wrong, completely wrong. It's at the end. It's not at the beginning. And so they constantly get the metrics wrong. And so my metrics make sense. And people are starting to agree with me, which is kind of nice to see. And so keep in mind, the Orthodox Jews, the Orthodox Rabbis, don't want the third temple. They know that it has to come down from heaven. So there probably won't be a building. It's not part of the metrics. There will be offerings, and that'll be a huge sign. And the two witnesses and things like that. But this is ridiculous to think that you're going to have a third temple being built. So don't be looking for it. It's really a waste of time. It's probably going to be a tent of some sort, something very simple. So now here's another one from a guy named Gillette, Britt Gillette. And so he's the author of a free ebook, and so why the stage is set for the end time. So his take on this is global war prospects. That's how you know. That's your metric. Global inflation prospects. That's a metric. Whatever. Rising mark of the beast system. Yeah. And then convergence of signs, and he lists those off on the right-hand side. And then he tells you to stay awake. This is virtually worthless for you to know as the metrics. Virtually worthless. And this is a recent article, too. I think it came out in the late October, maybe early November of 2021. Virtually worthless. Okay, Israel back in the land. Okay, whatever. Jewish people in control of Jerusalem. Gospel preached throughout the world. Increased travel and knowledge. Arrival of exponential curve. Okay, Israel surrounded by enemy. I mean, this is pathetic. For him to mail this out to you and say, this is your answer for your metrics. Thanks for nothing, Pastor Gillette. Now, this is other people. Everybody's got their ideas on the order of events in heaven that happen before we go into the Great Tribulation. And this isn't really very helpful either. So we're not going to spend any time on it at all. It's illogical. In fact, I'm an eschatologist and I don't know what they're talking about half the time. Their metrics here. And here's some more metrics. These are SDA metrics. They have very, very detailed metrics. So we're going to move on to that and show you all their metrics. But none of these work in real time. I mean, when we go back to this, it's all just stuff that Ellen White said, and Ellen White was wrong so often. Yeah, she's got a detailed list of their metrics, but it's virtually worthless to you. Once again, there you go. And if you want to, you can save it or Google it yourself. I mean, description of last day's events. Okay, great. It's worthless. So so time-wise and what's going on in terms of metrics, I think this is a metric. I'm seeing a lot of evangelical leaders getting sick or dying recently, and it's October, November. It's November now of 2021. So it was intriguing to see. I mean, poor Russ Dizdar, great guy, and his wife Shelley. They're both dead now. Rob Skiba is dead, and Tom Horn almost died. I'm seeing that the demons are dancing when good people die. And so there's something weird going on with a whole bunch of evangelical leaders dying or getting sick. And obviously, I'm not an evangelical leader, but I was sick recently too. So go figure. So as always, I tell you that the seals look just like the Matthew 24 birth pangs. And so they kind of line up and they move through very intelligently. And so I think that's how you'll know what's going on. Now, that young lady again, Steph, she is stating that when you see these horrific things happening, remember, we're not going to be in the Great Tribulation. We're just going through from seal 3 to seal 4, the fourth horseman. So just keep that in mind. This is where we're going right now. We're going through the birth pangs. We're not in that Great Tribulation or even tribulation. We're just hanging around, and we don't even know how much time we have until we go in. So this is Leviticus 26. I cited that early on. And so basically what I'm getting at is that God goes through, this is one of my Bibles, you can tell, because it's all highlighted, distress, drought, wild animals attack, plagues, famine, dispersion. This is what you should expect to see, the waves of these judgments coming. And that's how you know that we're getting much closer, when they get bigger and more horrific. So I argue that we're in the third seal right now, and that means that you should start to notice, what do I call it here? Food scarcity. You should start noticing food scarcity. I think that's the best way. That's how Mike Adams described it this week. I think that's the most accurate description of it. So then the fourth seal will come. And it'll be more than just food scarcity. You're going to start seeing the poor nations die based on the fact that they won't be able to get fertilizer to grow their crops, so they'll starve. And there will be other problems. And then you'll also see deaths from other reasons. And she's saying there's going to be some wars, and that might be that supernatural thing, or just death in general. So there's 4 different types of deaths that occur. And that's almost 2 billion people. And there are a bunch of people out there talking about the fact that the poor nations would be killed off with food scarcity, and the rich nations would be killed off with other things that would occur. War might be one of those. So just keep that in mind. So that's seal 4. Seal 5 is martyrdom. Seal 6 is burning figs and an earthquake. And it's all survivable. And so you're going to see more of the players on the planet. I'm telling you that these are players that you should be aware of. It's not just the Antichrist. It's not just the false prophet. It's also Gog. It's also the fifth trumpet from Revelation chapter 9, the king angel of the abyss. And then these 9-foot-tall locust-like creatures that pop up from Revelation 9. And then the 2 million cavalry, or 200 million cavalry soldiers from Revelation chapter 9. I mean, this is when things get really, really bad, but things are really bad right now because the demons are dancing right now. Astroworld down in Texas, Houston, 8 dead at least, if not more, killed during this music festival. It was a demonic activity. The whole thing was. So Travis Scott concert, witnesses say demon ritual took place. Bodies felt like fire. Fans crying. 8 gone. The security guard was pricked in the neck. Other people just literally felt the presence of Satan at this event. So how does that factor into the end times? You're going to see more demonic activity. You're just going to notice the demons are going to pop their ugly little heads up and cause problems. And so just be aware of that. Okay, I'll describe something that happened to me the other day. I take a walk all the time around a small lake, and I went to take my walk on Thursday. So I was trying to cross the street, and as I tried to cross, a lady and a guy behind her didn't want me to cross the street and tried to run me off the road with their cars. And so the guy pulled over after that and started screaming at me that he was going to beat the F out of me. I think you know what the F is, and it's like, that's demonic, to run somebody, a pedestrian, off the road and then pull over and threaten to beat them up because they were trying to cross the road. Yeah, that's demonic. That's where we're going, people. That's where it's going to go. So this is your demonic guy dancing with demons. Is it time for them to dance? Yeah, I truly believe that this guy, this horrible singer from Houston, Texas, just opened up hell. So I'm saying the gates of hell are going to open up. Now, there's going to be some good people on the planet during the end times. So keep that in mind. You're going to have friends that are going to move very mightily in God's Spirit. So you want to go that way. You don't want to be around the demons that are dancing. You want to wear white garments. You want to keep yourself clean. It's going to be a wedding. So keep in mind that's more important than the demons dancing, but that's what's happening right now. And so